Hello, everyone. This is Coach McCarthy. We are talking about personal finance, and we are on 2.5. So we started with 2.1. We talked about sources of income. We talked about wages and salaries. There's a lot of different sources of income. Any way that you're bringing money in. For most of us, typically when we think of income, we're looking at wages and salaries. Now, what we talked about is passive income, and that's money you don't have to really do anything to earn. That's money that you're earning from dividends, um, interest, and things like that. And that's really where you want to try and get to is where your most of your income is coming from passive income. That way, you don't have to do anything. You can enjoy your life doing what you want to do, not have to worry about working, which is what wages and salaries would consist of. We talk about setting financial goals, and goals are important so that you're going somewhere with your life and you know what you're trying to do, not just floating around and going through the motions. You want to have some purpose for what's going on. We talked about looking at your financial needs and goals to determine your financial requirements. So, what do you want out of life? And what's your goal trying to be? If your goal is to be a millionaire and you're working at McDonald's, those might not really add up real well. So, you need to try and adjust some things so that you can get to your goals and try and get there. We talked about establishing a financial safety net, and again, we look at anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It seems like 6 months is a little bit more the average for what most of the websites are talking about. And I think in this day and age, 6 months is definitely something that you need, especially with the coronavirus going around and people are losing their jobs. And it's hard to find a job. So that's really the situation that you're looking at is how easily do you think you can find a job again? And if it's going to take longer, then you need more money. And that's what you're looking for is to be able to balance yourself out in the event that something catastrophic happens, like losing a job. We looked at also some medical situations might arise that are going to require you to dip into those emergency funds. So you need to have those. So that brings us up to today. Today we're on 2.5. It just talks about determine personal net worth. So we're going to look at our trusty Google search here. So your net worth, quite simply, is the dollar amount of your assets minus all your debts. You can calculate your net worth by subtracting your liabilities, which are your debts, from your assets. So assets minus liabilities. If your assets exceed your liabilities, all right, and we have more assets than we have liabilities, we have a positive net worth. And you have more liabilities than you have assets, then you kind of have a negative net worth. So we're going to look at this Investopedia website, and let's talk about how to calculate your tangible net worth. So this is a little bit farther down the road when we talk about net worth. Um, so we look at certain applications. The basic net worth calculation may not be adequate. If you hold copyrights, patents, or other intellectual property, you may need to calculate your tangible net worth, which is the sum of all your tangible assets minus the total amount of your liability. So as we get through, we look at there's some words in there we haven't really talked about. We talk about this tangible net worth. Similar to your net worth, totals up your assets and liabilities, but it goes a step farther. Subtracts the value of any intangible assets. So tangible and intangible. Intangible being things we can't touch, tangible we can. So intangible assets including goodwill, copyrights, patents, and other intellectual property. So this is more so of a business situation when they're looking at their liquidity to see where they're at. And here's a little bit more talking about tangible versus intangible assets. So, difference between net worth and tangible net worth calculations is that the former includes all assets, and the latter, the tangible net worth, subtracts the assets that you cannot physically touch. Assets are everything that you own that can be converted into cash. So that's where we talk about liquidity earlier on. Um, so, by this definition, assets include cash, investments, real property, and personal property. So, here's where we talk about minus intangible assets. So we have our total assets minus total liabilities. And we won't really talk about this a whole lot. It's good to know. So, value of intangible assets. So, we got to figure out what we have. So, we talk about calculating assets. So, the first hurdle to correctly determine the value of your assets, most liquid ones, the amount you have in cash and cash equivalents. So, these are things that we can cash out real quick. All right? And we say cash out because cash is cash. We don't have to cash that out, but we could pull from our checking and savings right now. Money market account, we can pull from that right now. So next, move on to investments, determining their current market value, and a lot of different investments. And we'll talk about these later in our investments unit. And then the third one is our tangible assets, things we can touch. So property, that's an asset. You own that if you own your house, jewelry, cars, vehicles, vacation, second home, all those kind of things. And then we look at our liabilities. So it says start off with the amount you owe and secured debts, including. So car loan, I have to pay that off. Equity, all mortgage, all these different loans. These are things you're going to have to pay off. And then we're going to talk about secure and unsecured debt a little bit later, but this talks about secured debt being car loans and mortgages and things like that. And then we talk about unsecured debt, your credit cards, those are always changing, your student loans, taxes. So there's a lot of things that you're going to have to add in your assets and and then you're going to subtract your liabilities. So this is the Nerd Wallet website, and I believe this was like the second one. Let me make sure. Yes, this one, the third one. So this is actually a calculator to help you find your net worth. It says input your assets and liabilities in the calculator to find your net worth. So net worth is assets minus liabilities, which we've already talked about. So here you can add in different things. So your assets, these are things we own, our savings account, our checking account. And then in the liabilities that we have, you see a lot of different loans and other debts, consumer debt. These would be your credit cards, mortgages, if you have a house. And then it's going to give you your net worth. All right. And then it kind of talks about a little bit more assets minus liabilities. That's what we keep on seeing. And assets include cash, checking, savings, and retirement, items such as cars. And these are often referred to as liquid because you can touch them, you can get the money out now. Some things aren't as liquid where you can't get the money right at this second. We also have our liabilities, which we've pretty much already covered, and net worth of U.S. families by income. So let's see, this is Nerd Wallet. So you can see that net worth a little bit there went up, and you can see some different values. And then there's by age. So a lot of different things that we talk about. We've looked at net worth, and again, your assets minus your liabilities is the main thing we want to take away from this.